The president has just been informed about the crash of an F-15 fighter jet in Iran. This is an American fighter jet. A statement from CENTCOM is coming. National security correspondent Jennifer Griffin brings details. Jen, what do you know?
Trace, we had some details about this alleged F-15 fighter jet, and it was shot down in the southwest of Iran. It's in the province that is actually closest to Karg Island, which we've been hearing so much about. We had avoided reporting this until now because there was an active search and rescue operation underway. But now that we've learned the president has been informed about the downed F-15, we're getting some details from open sources online showing that the F-15 pilot's seat was seen on the ground, suggesting that at least one of the pilots had ejected and the pilot was not present at the location where the photo was taken. So this suggests that at least one may have survived. There are two pilots in an F-15 and they would be flying. Also, we see some open source video footage showing that there were two helicopters. It's dangerous to be in the air during the day. This suggests, once again, the urgency of this search and rescue mission, because it would be rare to carry out a search and rescue mission with helicopters flying low over a possibly contested area. Well, considering that this happened during the day, it shows urgency and suggests that some of the pilots may have survived. Trace.
I know you've worked in this field a long time, Jennifer. I think a lot of information is coming in about this search to inform the people of Iran about this plan. Some pilots might be out there. What do we know about Iranian TV? How reliable is it? And what concerns are there about people being instructed to act in certain ways in the country?
Well, Iranian media, Trace, is state-controlled. It's a propaganda network that would have an interest. And we've seen over the past 32 days that they've reported several times that they had shot down F-35 fighter jets, which wasn't true. That's why it was so important to independently confirm that this F-15 really did crash. Therefore, some details released by the Iranians may be propaganda for their own people. At the moment, the president of the CMEA has been informed about the F-15 crash, and CENTCOM should release a statement soon. So we feel comfortable reporting the fact that the F-15 did indeed crash. But in terms of the reliability of Iranian state television, it's part of the war effort. At this moment, Trace is...
Let's bring in Benjamin Hall, since we still don't know how the F-15 crashed. It's not known if it was mechanical failure or if it was shot down. A lot of things remain unconfirmed.
Benjamin, yes. In moments like this, we watch online and follow some of the videos that have been released. And be very careful, according to Iranian state television, but images of the ejection seat on the ground have surfaced, so it's clear that it was really fired and there wasn't a single pilot nearby. But you see, from the beginning, the ESA and ESA have acted cautiously regarding Iran using B-2 bombers and high-altitude aircraft in an attempt to achieve air supremacy. And there was a perception that air supremacy had been achieved, so it will be interesting to see how this plane was shot down. Now, Iranian state TV and their own state TV, you can never 100% believe anything they say. But they also made an appeal, offering a reward of $60,000 to anyone who found these pilots. That's equivalent to 10 million in local currency. That's something we've never seen them say before, although they have, yes. They claimed that they had already shot down planes before. So it feels like they are also actively looking for pilots. Oh, and of course, that's a fear that many people would have. If these pilots were captured, the conflict would change in several ways. We don't know what happened to them, and we are closely monitoring the situation. We know the helicopters are also in the field doing search and rescue. We've already seen the helicopters in that part of southern Iran, so look, we know there's a search and rescue operation underway. We know that the plane did indeed crash. We know that President Trump has been informed, and we're waiting to learn more. For now, Trace.
Benjamin, hold on. We're going to call Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb, former Black Hawk pilot and battalion commander. Do you see the plane and what Benjamin is talking about? There? There are some photos of the ejection seat on the ground. There's no pilot nearby. It's kind of a good news, bad news situation. That is, it seems the pilot survived the ejection because the pilot isn't there. The bad news is that the Iranian media is warning people to look for these pilots, offering a reward of $60,000, which is concerning regarding what might happen if they land on the ground.
Yes, that's right. The first point I want to emphasize is the fact that when something like this happens, whether it's a mechanical failure or a shoot down due to the location, that becomes the mission. That's the focus, even if we don't know the situation. They will try to confirm the status of what's happening with the pilots at all times, but that will be the focus until they have some kind of resolution about all of this. I've been involved in combat search and rescue, and I do the planning and execution of personnel recovery operations. And I can say that the entire CENTCOM area, as well as national resources, are involved in an operation like this, with a very well-structured, layered plan from space down to the ground. Regarding how to rescue pilots behind enemy lines, this will be put into practice as soon as they receive the report. Anyone watching can be sure that the military takes the recovery of downed or lost pilots behind enemy lines very seriously, regardless of how it happened.
Yes, and you then are saying that this happens immediately, and I wonder why? Jennifer Griffin was talking about the risk of low-flying helicopters, which may be conducting searches. What else can be done to assess exactly what happened to the pilots in this case, Colonel?
Well, the pilots will be carrying systems they can use, if those systems are working, to send signals indicating their status. And I can't go into much detail about that, about sending aircraft to rescue pilots. This happens after assessing the threats to ensure that a bigger problem isn't created by sending in low-flying helicopters. The notification and the process start immediately. Sending rescue resources to extract any pilot can take some time, depending on what they find out about the situation. But there are several different systems that can observe the area and gather both signals and visual intelligence to ensure they do their best to know exactly what the pilots are doing. And as you can imagine, much of this is classified. About how it works,
Yes, I can only imagine, Colonel. One moment, we'll be back with our correspondent, Jennifer Griffin. Jen, what else? Well,
Tracy, let's remember where we started at the beginning of the hour. Recent intelligence reports suggest that almost half of Iran's considerable stockpile of ballistic missiles has in fact survived. Despite more than 11,000 attacks carried out by the UMOA armed forces, the Air Force, and also the Israelis, it's truly a miracle that more planes haven't had mechanical failures over Iran, considering the number of flights and the amount of attacks that have taken place. Remember that 3 F-15Es were shot down by friendly fire at the beginning of the conflict by an anxious Kuwaiti pilot who mistook them for enemies. But they survived. They managed to eject completely safely. They said that at least one of those pilots has already returned to active duty on flight missions over Iran. Just so we all remember. As for the ballistic missiles that survived, many of the launches carried out were destroyed. But we learned that Iran fired 3 waves of ballistic missiles toward northern Israel, suggesting that these missile launches are hard to find. Yes, well, they are usually hidden in underground tunnels built over the last 20 years. So there is still a danger for pilots flying over Iran in terms of anti-aircraft fire and also possible mechanical failures. We don't know what brought down this F-15E, and the fact that Iran is still able to threaten Gulf countries with ballistic missiles and drones, as well as the Strait of Hormuz. Besides Iran itself, it shows that even if they still have a few, missiles and drones will continue to be a threat to their neighbors. The mission is far from over. Furthermore, it remains extremely dangerous to send pilots into this disputed area. Yes?
Just to be clear, Jen, you said you don't know the cause of the plane crash. CENTCOM should release a statement at any moment. CENTCOM would know how the plane went down, and that would be included in the statement. Or, in your view, is it just a general statement?
I believe we will have very few details in this CENTCOM statement. They will want to confirm that the F-15 may have gone down, but that will be under investigation, and that's important because they don't know either. Often the initial reports are not clear. They avoid releasing incorrect data or providing damage assessments to the Iranians. That's why the subject is so delicate right now. That's why we were cautious about releasing this information until the president was informed. Because I repeat, we don't want to do anything that could put those pilots' lives at risk if they survived and if neither of them has been rescued.